Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Arts and Culture Commission. It is Thursday, May 16th. May we have roll call, please?
Commissioners Derhovanesian?
Here.
Gregorian?
Yes.
Lee?
Here.
Kavanian?
Here.
Chairperson Deaver.
Here.
The agenda for the May 16th meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall on May 9th, 2013.
Excellent.
Item 2, consent items. At A, approval of meeting minutes from April 18th, 2013.
I will move the minutes.
I second.
Any comments? Roll call.
Commissioners Derhovanesian?
Yes.
Gregorian?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Kavanian?
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver.
Abstain. And before we move on to the next item, I'd actually like to move the oral communications ahead as item number 3 in respect of some of our visitors' timelines here.
Item 3, oral communications. Discussion is limited to items not on this agenda. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes. The Commission may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The Commission may refer the matter to City staff for investigation and report.
And the first card I have is for Valerie Baloo, and you can correct McCaffrey. Please step forward and repeat your name appropriately for the record, please.
Valerie Baloo McCaffrey.
Thank you.
First of all, thank you very much for having me this afternoon. I appreciate it. I'm one of the producers of Lost and Found in Armenia, and I don't know if you've been familiar with the trailer, but we have it here for you to see. But Glendale is profiled in it, so that's a good thing. And then I just like a minute of your time after the trailer to discuss a little bit of the issues that we're having in Glendale.
Come on, not again.
Ew! I have a great idea.
Like calling a turkey to relax.
Sexy girl, I bring for you. I just had my heart broken. I hate girls.
You want boys?
Bill, you ever tried parasailing?
I'm scared of heights.
Come on, man, you're doing it. No, I'm not. That's the end of this conversation. Hey! Oh, I'm not this sober. Morto. Yeah, my sober.
Are you guys Turks?
Christ, please don't shoot. Don't shoot.
Sit down, Tariq.
I'm not Bin Laden. Bin Laden's dead. We got him. What part of Turkey am I in now?
You're not in Turkey, you are in Armenia.
Armenia? What the hell is Armenia? You mean like Glendale?
Lost and Found in Armenia, where romance and comedy find each other.
Does anybody here speak English?
Buongiorno, signor.
Anyway, the unfortunate thing is we were going to have it at the 5-Star, and we were told today that 5-Star will not be open until end of June. So we are not showing in Glendale, and that to me is kind of sad in a weird way because the director's from Glendale. We have all our events here. I don't know what else can be done. I mean, we're trying to get into Pasadena at the Laemmle, but we're showing in other theaters. But we would like to ultimately show it in Glendale. But I guess we have the Pacific, and 5-Star, which is not available to us now. But what can you do in the meantime? Well, if you guys could really promote this film, it is a homebred, film. It's culturally right for this city, obviously, with all the Armenian that live here. I don't know how you can, but I'd love to. I have like little flyers, or just being supportive of the film would be very helpful.
Question. Why can't you postpone the date in Glendale to end of June instead of somewhere at the beginning, but still have it in the city?
Well, we originally Five Star made a deal with us saying that they were going to be showing the film. So we have done a huge campaign, including Twitter, Facebook. We've booked theaters already based upon that. I mean, we could have it in Glendale later on, but that's kind of after the fact. So, so now we're trying to get into the Lemley, Pasadena, or, Pacific Theaters, the Americana. They have a video on demand corporate policy that they have to have the video on demand much later than the release of the movie. And video on demand is going to happen at the same time as the film's release. The good news is that we have theatrical release. We have it in Detroit, Philadelphia, Fresno, where I'm from, Beverly Hills, Encino. So, we have it. It's just sad we don't have it here. This was our big marketplace.
Have you tried on some limited screenings, let's say at the Alex Theater?
Yes, that is an option, I suppose. It's not a very... What is so amazing about this movie, it's the first time that Armenian language and English will be heard by conventional American-run theaters. We can have all kinds of private screenings, but to have it in a regular theater where you buy popcorn and you pay for your ticket and it's just a special time. It's actually historical what's happening right now. Other than Sideways that spoke a little Armenian, this is the first time this movie is being shown like this, and people really love the film, which is fantastic.
Well, of course, that's the ideal situation if Five Star was open and you could have shown it as planned. Mm-hmm. But now that the fact is that it's not, maybe a plan B or a plan C would work, which is have some limited screenings at the Alex Theater. I'm sure they might have some open dates, and they are going to go through renovation pretty soon, so that might also kind of hinder your
sure.
But that's maybe one of the things that you can consider.
Okay, that'd be great.
And if you like, I'm sure the staff or myself or anybody would be very happy to put you in touch with the the Glendale Arts staff and the executive director, and probably, I'm sure they will do their best to accommodate you.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
After this meeting is over, I will forward you the staff contact for the Alex Theater.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Another question?
Is there a website?
Yes, there is. It's lostandfoundinarmenia.net, and there's a Facebook and all kinds of stuff. So you guys want to share, that'd be great.
I think community was expecting. We have already talked to so many different people and different organizations about this movie coming in town. I'm sure everybody is going to be desperately disappointed because they were looking forward, all of us.
Yes, actually, I just found out about 2 hours ago. I had gone there at the whole idea was to have an interview with Jamie Kennedy, which we, Lights on LA, we did yesterday. And it was supposed to, the last time I heard, was supposed to open in 10 days, which then would fit into our timeline. But when I looked at the theater, there wasn't, it was a lot longer. I mean, I've had construction at my house and it looked worse than that. So, but anyway, with all positive thoughts ahead, the film, maybe we can, if not open it, the first week, maybe the second week, I don't know, so.
That sounds great.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention.
And good luck to you.
Our next card is for Emily Goff and Roger Dolan, I believe, are presenting together.
Good afternoon. We're with...
Could you, just for the record, put your names as well before you...
I'm Emily Goff.
I'm Roger Dolan.
And we're from Daly High School. And we have the Daly Mural Project at the high school. And I'm here to tell you a little bit about what I've learned through the Philadelphia Mural Arts Program. I went there last year to study, and A few things about funding, maintenance, collaborative programs, etc. So the Mural Arts program in Philadelphia has turned Philadelphia into a once blighted area into a city known as the mural capital of the world. And their current funding is funded 50% by the city, and that covers vehicles, 1/4 of paid staff, and building costs, and the other 50% is privately funded as a 401c3 nonprofit, and that covers the artist subcontractors, educators, etc. They also have mural tours, which raises quite a bit of money, and they're fabulous. I've been on some. They have collaborative programs through the Mural Arts program with behavioral health and prison reentry organizations. For example, the Restorative Justice Program works with 7 prisons 5 days a week, and the program boasts a 13% recidivism rate versus the 67% national average. So we know that community murals make a huge difference in the lives of people. Cost and management of upkeep. It's a huge program. They have approximately 3,500 murals. They produce approximately 80 new projects yearly, and they're focusing more and more on conservation. So when graffiti is reported, they clean it within 3 days, and they're getting a lot of their money through the Ford Foundation grant and the Getty Conservation Institute. Average cost of their murals are $15,000 to $25,000, and that includes artist salary, paint, scaffolding, etc. Also, sites are identified through wall hunts. Citizens identify a wall for a potential mural, then they send a letter of inquiry to the property owner along with a wall authorization form. Community members and property owners can apply to have a mural painted. The owner signs permission for authorization and gives MAP a 1-year option to develop the project. There are currently 2,000 potential walls on the wait list, and walls are intended to last 20 to 30 years before restoration is needed. Finally, as far as data, success indicators, there are numerous studies, but the one that I found most meaningful was an e-consult study, and that was showing that murals rank in the top 5 factors in potential for business investment and consumer buying. So murals make a difference.
What was the study? I'm sorry?
E-consult study. And I have if you want any typed information.
We brought you guys some brochures from our. I'm a muralist, and I came to Daly High School 7 years ago. And as an artist in residence, I kind of developed a program whereas other schools would pay me to work with the students here. And we've done at least 20 murals for other schools throughout the district. And we've done murals for Eastlake Juvenile Hall. We've done murals for one Glendale that's now permanently exhibited at the Salvation Army. And I've also recently been appointed the director of public arts for the San Fernando Valley. So I'm very involved in getting mural programs going out there too. I really think it's an honor for me to be allowed to come to Daly and work with the students, and I thank you guys very much for letting me work with you. And through our mural program, we've given kids some community service hours so that they've been able to graduate, get extra credits, and learn to stay in school or enjoy school enough to come back and want to do these projects. So I guess we can give these to there. And
great.
Thank you guys for.
And I think for the record, too, Mr. Dolan, if you could enter your name in for the record as well.
My name is Roger Dolan.
And I just want to say that I did reach out and invite them to speak during oral communications because I know that this is one of the things that we're looking at, and they have a great program. They also competitively put in for the Maple Park project that we did about 1.5 years ago or so, and have a great installation there that they work with the community and with the students. Were there any questions or anything from my fellow commissioners?
Just wanted to say that I've always been very proud of our daily kids. I used to be with Glendale Unified School District. I recently retired myself, but the artwork that they do, they are the most creative kids we have in all of our schools.
Yes,
they're wonderful, wonderful kids.
Thank
I
you.
enjoy them very much. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And the next card I have, I'd like to invite up, and I'm terrible with names, so I apologize. Mylene's Estudillo? You can correct me as soon as you get up here.
It's Marlon Sasadillo.
Thank you.
Well, we've been working on this project for about 2 trimesters now. It's a daily mural project for Franklin Elementary School. We've been doing it, it's about all the continents and all these icons to describe the continents. And yeah, that's so far. We've been doing that for a while. And so far, it'll be up by summer or something. And they're gonna keep it for a while. So be happy about that.
You'll have to let us know when it's completed so we can come take a look.
You guys have to.
That would be
We work
great.
very hard on this, all of us.
They just need to invite us, and we'll be there.
I'll send you an invite.
Good. Thank you.
Is that a promise?
It's a pinky promise.
Any questions from commissioners?
It's wonderful there.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much.
I'm really looking forward to that, though. Please don't forget.
And thank you for bravely standing forward and letting us know about that as well. That's great. And I want to thank you all for your involvement in this project, because it's your artistic integrity and in your heart that you bring to that makes the program such a success. So thanks for being involved with that.
If I could also share that I myself am an artist, and it was very difficult for me to care about school. Really, it really was. I was my high school did not have any kind of artistic programs at all, but I was very fortunate to be able to go to Colburn School in downtown. And, arts is so important to each and everyone's lives, but a lot of people have no idea about that. So thank you for sharing your gifts. And don't forget that there's an artist in everybody. Bring that out to life.
I'd like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Dick Heimbold, please.
Thank you, Chairman Deaver and Commissioners. My name is Dick Heimbold. Before I get into inviting you to our next show, I want to say that the awards presentation was really terrific. I thought it was a great community event, well done, great music, thanks to Armin. Okay, the business at hand is we're going to have an art show in June. The reception is June 7th. It's in the Enzo Gallery down on Central Avenue. I saw a couple of the commissioners a few nights ago. And it's a smallish gallery, but it's right for the show we're having is called Glendale, Real and Imagined. And one of my personal goals is to have more attention on the city of Glendale as a place where artists portray the city and the people in their work. And so this is our first attempt at doing that. Representational work is the real part of it. The imagined part is anywhere where people's imaginations want to take them. There will even be some neon art there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a string quartet there. We're going to have some good food from Porto's, and you're all invited. Thank you.
June 6th?
June 7th.
7th.
Friday night.
Thank you, Mr. Heimbold, for letting us know about that. And it goes the exhibit goes until June 11th, it looks like. Is that?
21st.
21st. It's right in front of me, and I can't read it. That's great. 21st, yeah. Thank you. And we have another speaker I'd like to invite forward, Mr. Robert Harutnia.
I think he's out there.
Harutnia.
Hello, my name is Robert Harutnia. I'm sorry for my English. My English is not proper. And I speak in Armenian, and someone of maybe Razmik help me translate to English, okay? I'm sorry.
I'll be happy to if you speak slowly, please. And short.
Okay.
Short sentences.
All right. Իմ առաջարկս կայանում է հետևյալում։
I have this proposal.
Glendale քաղաքը բավականին զարգացած եւ գրագետ կազմակերպված քաղաքացիներ ունի։
Glendale has quite educated and well-organized citizens, and it's a very well-organized city.
Սակայն ցավոք այս քաղաքը ճանաչված է Լոս Անջելեսի, ասենք թե տարածքում որպես արվեստի քաղաք։
Unfortunately, the city is not well known in the Los Angeles area or Southern California as an art city.
Շատեր այս քաղաքում սիրում են արվեստ եւ հավաքում են արվեստ եւ կան բավականին շատ նկարիչներ, քանդակագործներ։
There are many art lovers and artists in this city and art collectors who do everything lovingly.
Բայց մենք ունենք ընդհանրապես մեկ կամ երկու գալերի եւ նույնիսկ ունենք մի մեծ ճոխ թանգարան։
But unfortunately, we have only 2 or 3 small galleries, and we don't even have a museum.
Իմ առաջարկս կանում է հետևյալը, որ մենք կազմակերպենք այս քաղաքում, ինչպես քաղաքակից շատ քաղաքներում, ասենք թե նույնիսկ Երևան քաղաքում կա ամեն շաբաթ կիրակի օրերը, ուրեմն ոտնկայած այսպես ասած ցուցահանդեսներ, մարդիկ գնում են գալիս։
My proposal is that in this city we organize weekly exhibitions, just like many other major cities in the world, including even Yerevan, where people will go to the art shows and
Գնայինք ցանոթան արվեստի ամենալավագույն ռոպագանդան է, ոչ միայն մեծերի համար, նոր երիտասարդների համար, որոնք կարիք ունեն շփվելու արվեստի հետ ուղղակի։
This will be a good opportunity to connect with the art and the artists, and not only for the adults, but also for the young and the kids.
Ավանդույթն է ստեղծում լավ, այսպես ասած, հարաբերությունները քաղաքում, որ քաղաքացիների մանով, որ մենք քաղաքում մենք ունենք այսպիսի մի միջոցառում, որտեղ մենք կարող ենք հանդիպել, զրուցել արվեստի մասին,
This will create a very good tradition in the city where everybody can get together and not only enjoy art but also converse and exchange ideas about art.
Եվ ոչ միայն Glendale քաղաքացիներ, կա Լոս Անջելեսի իստում է շատ քաղաքակիրթ մարդիկ կուզենան գալ մասնակցել եւ ներկա լինել այս։
This not only will be beneficial for the citizens of Glendale but also for the surrounding cities, and people from Los Angeles will love to come in and participate in those activities.
Որտեւ այսօր Glendale քաղաքը ճանաչում են ամերիկանով, հաճելի է, բայց ինձ համար սա երկրորդական է, ավելի լավ կլինի որպես արվեստով մենք ներկայանանք Los Angeles-ին։
This today Glendale is known by the Americana, which is a pleasant place, but it's not enough. It's better to have some kind of a central attraction for the arts.
Իմ կարծիքով բացի դրանից, ինչպես ամերիկանան այս միջոցառումը բավականին եկամուտ կբերի եւ քաղաքին, որտեղ մարդիկ կգան շատ դրսից։
I believe that this opportunity will bring a lot of people from outside Glendale and will bring a lot of income also together with the visitors that they come in.
Բացի դրանից արտիստները, որը կբարձեն տարածքները եւ կներկայացնեն իրենց արվեստը, որոշ գումար կմուծեն եւ նրանք պատրաստ կլինեն այդ քալին դիմել։
And also the artists would be willing to rent temporarily some areas, and they will even pay rent for those areas, and that will also be some kind of additional income for the city.
Վերջապես Glendale քաղաքը ունի Art Association-ը, այդ գումարը շատ աջակցող գումար կլինի եւ այդ association-ի համար, որ ասենք թե մենք կարողանանք մշտական պերմանենտ ունենանք այսպես ասած հետագա ցուցահանդեսներ լավագույն արտիստների եւ կոնկուրսներ միջուկ կազմակերպել։
Glendale already has the Glendale Art Association, which is a fabulous organization, and I'm sure this income not only will help the Glendale Arts Association but also will enhance the exhibitions organized in the city.
Այո, որ մեր քաղաքը ճանաչեն գոնե տարի մեկ անգամ, չասեմ երկու անգամ ցուցահանդեսների քաղաք, որ մենք կազմակերպում ենք կոնկուրսներ։
At least they will recognize our city as the city for exhibitions and art exhibitions and festivals, I would say.
Festivals, yeah. Չեմ ուզում շատ ձանձրացնել ձեզ, ուրիշ առաջարկներ կլինեն։ Առաջի քայլը կուզենայի, որ այս հարցը քննարկվեր եւ որոշվեր տարածքը, եթե Ուզեք ես նույնիսկ ինքս կարող եմ առաջարկել տարած։ Կարող է լինել փոքր, կարող է մեծ։
I want to speak briefly. I don't want to bore you, but even if necessary, I will be happy to recommend some areas and some spaces where this can be organized.
Շնորհակալություն, եթե հարցեր կան, խնդրեմ։
Thank you. If there are any questions, please ask me.
Thank you very much. I don't think anyone, at least myself, wouldn't disagree with your assessment that we need more of art, we need more activity in galleries and communication between the community and artists in that way.
You understand? Okay, good.
Sometimes easier to understand than to speak, yes? If you have, speaking for myself, if there is information you would like to share about ideas, very specific ideas about places or who might organize that, please feel free to share that with us in some written form would be great. I'm thinking about our future in terms of public art and our GATE program and things like that we'll be considering over the course of this next year, and how, if nothing else, that type of art display that you're talking about might be integrated into some sort of proposal that we might request of the community. Do I have other comments?
Yes, actually, we have discussed this before, to have a place that we would have an ongoing exhibition for the artists. But when it would be actualized, I don't know yet, but hopefully it is on its way. The other issue that we discussed is that to be able to do so, it would be nice if we could get different organizations, art organizations, getting together to organize that. We can somehow, we have to discuss this more thoroughly, but we can find a place and equip the place. But I do believe that to have it run, that every week there would be an event, it would be good that if community artists and art organizations will get together and organize a group that would help run the place.
Thank you very much. Շատ շնորհակալ եմ, բայց խնդրում եմ շատ չձգձգել, որտեղ գիտեք, sense միշտ ամեն ինչը երկար բան, շատ հարթ, պարզ եւ պրիմիտիվ առաջարկ է։ Եթե կուզենաք, ես 5 րոպեում կարող եմ նույնիսկ ներկայացնել, ոնց կարելի է դա կազմակերպել։
He thanks you first, and then he says, please make sure that this isn't delayed and dragged forever, because usually these things do drag forever. And in his opinion, he could easily propose a proposal in 5 minutes so that we can take the steps forward. If I may.
Could I say one thing?
Sure.
Could we have that proposal in a written form so we could look at it, work on it, and then seriously process it?
Okay, I will try.
Thank you very much.
My suggestion is created atmosphere of art tradition in this city.
Thank you.
Mr. Harchunian, if I may. Mr. Harchunian. Robert, I need to talk to you.
One more commissioner comment.
Commissioner comment.
Yeah.
Your proposal is very good, very constructive. As you know, this commission has made a lot of difference and has made a huge step forward towards what you are proposing. But we are only 5 people and very limited staff. We have always recommended that the community organizations and community volunteers and good people in the community, who are many, 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 to come forward, to volunteer, and bring us proposals, and we will do our best to support and make sure that it happens. For instance, we used to have a open studio tour. We might still do it. That we might have arts in the parks, maybe a festival of arts in the parks. All of these are great ideas. I promise you, if you and your colleagues, all the good volunteers of art lovers and art organizations in this city, if they come forward with a proposal to have a nice Sunday park festival of arts, I promise you, you will have our 100% support, and you will get it done, and we will make sure that it gets done through the park department, through the community services department, and through the library and arts and culture department. So all of these ideas are there, but we need volunteers and good people to organize it. And you are one of them.
And could I add, always written proposals work best. When people talk is one thing. When you write it, we can present it to different people and authorities within this community or the city to see how we can process the work. It
All
makes
right.
it faster.
Okay, I understand.
Thank you. Thank you very
So
much.
we expect you to come back next time with a nice written proposal.
I will try.
Okay.
Or the one after. Next item, please.
Item 4, introductions and presentations. At A, Central Library renovation, presented by Carolyn Fleming, Library Administrator, Library Arts and Culture Department.
Good afternoon, Chair Deaver and commissioners and staff. First of all, my name is Carolyn Fleming. I am the Library Arts and Culture Department's Facility Administrator, and I want to thank you for the time you're giving this afternoon. Cindy Cleary was scheduled to do this, and she is very sorry she isn't able to be here today. She hasn't yet perfected the manner in which you can be in two places at once, and she is about 3,000 miles away at her son's graduation from college. So she asked if I would step in and give you an overview of the plans for Central Library and an update on where we are with the construction at Brand Library and Arts Center. And before I even do that, I will make this as quick as I possibly can, but I want to preface it by saying we had, excuse me, in December, a somewhat unsuccessful attempt to allow you to tour the Brand Library and Arts Center project. I would like to offer you another tour opportunity on Monday, June 3rd at 10:30. And if that doesn't work for you, Annette has an alternate date, and we can work around your schedules. I think you'll enjoy what you see up there.
10:30?
10:30 in the morning? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will also send you an email with this information.
Yeah. Okay. We are ready to start the presentation on Central Library renovation. I'm going to go through this very quickly. Is led by a very strong team of library and other department personnel, including community services and parks, public works, historic preservation. The architectural team is the Bruin Associates. They are world-renowned, and we have two of their partners on the design team working very hard with us, along with all of their consultants as well. The goal of the project, actually there are several goals of the project, but the first one, and probably the most important one to all of us, is to make the library the center of what is now a very changed neighborhood. It is really a very invisible nucleus in a circle of change all the way around it. And as the neighborhood has changed, so has the library. You can see, obviously, when the library was built in '73, all of the traffic and all of the interest was to the east of the library, which was where the entrance was placed. At the present time, we have the Americana to the west, the museum coming in to the southwest, a regenerated adult recreation center and Central Park area, and to the north, directly to the north, the new parking structure and the future arts and entertainment district. So we want to be a very integral part of that. Right now, as you walk past or drive past the library, it is very possible to miss it entirely and not know it's there. This is the view you see from Harvard. This is the view coming out of the garage across the street at Maryland, and you cannot tell what it is, nor is there a welcoming entry to the building. The worst of all is that the only entry you see to the building is a staff entry, and it says no public. So what we'd like to do, and what is part of the proposed plan, is to bring in an entry to the very north that links directly to the Arts and Entertainment District, use the east entry as a special events entry and a staff entry, and provide a new entry to the south that will link into the park and the proposed paseo that will come from the Americana alongside the Neon Museum and directly into the park. The north entry will provide not only a formal introduction to the library, but a very welcoming place. It will have a plaza where hopefully we'll be able to attract some programming, use it as an outdoor space, perhaps some sort of a food venue as well, some seating. There's a grand staircase and seating area, and a very easily accessed, accessible pathway into the building. The south entry is a little smaller and a little less emphasized, partly because of budget and partly because we expect most of the traffic to be on the north side, too. The look, and this is the proposal at the moment, takes advantage of the brutalist architecture, retains all of its essential elements, and simply uncovers it. It takes some of the load of landscaping out of the way, keeps the drought-tolerant landscaping and the essential trees that are there, introduces a few new pieces, and then builds on the building as it currently stands, but exposes it. The entrance itself will be in the glass windows that you now see as you walk past the library. Instead of the glass being removed, it will simply be replaced with sliding glass doors. The remaining glass windows will all be retained. There will be a very low-key portal around the glass entry and the name of the library above it. So it's very much respectful of the history of the building, and I think very in tune with the new sort of feel to the downtown area. Second project goal is to make the modifications that support the evolving changes in library services, which simply is another way of saying we aren't the library we used to be. We are changing and we are becoming better and much more relevant to people. It used to be in the past that a library was very book-centric, and it was a place where you housed books, you protected books, you loaned books, and you brought them back in. It was a place where you went and you asked for information, an answer to your question. Right now it is much more than that, and it will become more so as we go along. We don't know exactly where it will be in 50 years, but it will be there. So part of what we need to do is to reduce the size of what it takes to staff the library and make it more of a place for the people and less for a protective staff environment. So we will be reducing the very massive desk, which I will show you in a moment, and the 2 circulation and service desks that we currently have, and making them just one single desk, opening up that grand main floor of the library so that it offers a wealth of opportunities for programming, for community use space, for quiet reading, but away from that main space, for more study spaces, more conference rooms, and the possibility of exhibition walls that can be used, improved space in the center that can be used for community functions as well, much more flexibility, and again, a possibility of an incubator or maker space. And this is what the library main floor looks like now. And when I mentioned that massive desk, this is what I'm talking about. It takes up roughly a third of the floor of the library. That will be greatly reduced. Our new entrance on the north side will be right at this double window. People will come in the door. It will be a very gracious open floor plan. The new service desk will be over here. Some of the large elements that are in the library at the moment, such as that staircase that takes you from the first floor to the second floor, will be reduced in size and moved, and we will be introducing some things that I will show you in a moment, so I won't try and describe now. This is what we just saw was what the library looked like in the 90s. And you notice the area up here and how it's being used as single seating or more relaxed reading. In the 90s and the 2000s and the 2010s, it became much more of an area for study, for people's personal computer use, and this is obviously what we want to emphasize as we go forward. This is an overview of not the latest rendering for the main floor, but a close view. You're looking from the roof down through the second floor. This is the balcony area right in here where currently the administrative offices sit. That area, which has a beautiful view out over the Central Park area, has always been private space. And we are going to move that office area into a back area and open this up for public use. And it's a perfect, what we are calling reading spa, your quiet retreat for studying, for reading and relaxing. And it will be highlighted with the sculpture that currently is in the library, and we'll be moving it over so that it will be setting the tone and a bright spot in the library. Downstairs, this is the entry that I mentioned, and this is actually a ramp and stairs with a platform with computers. This is being taken out At this point, it's being taken out, and the elevator that is here, the clock, which is a piece of the library that we have had since the very beginning, will be moved from the face of the elevator over here to the very side where its transparency will become apparent again. Had it been set up on the face of the elevator, we would have lost that element. So the changes that we are making as we go along are in response to what we're hearing from the community. We had a community meeting in, I believe it was early April, I'm losing track of time now, and an appearance before the Historic Preservation Committee, and we have been in touch with, actually the design architect for the building originally has also given us some advice on the project too. So what you'll notice as well is the seating, which is currently almost all clustered down on the main floor, is now being spread out. So it's here on the main floor, it's up here on the balcony area, and it's over here on the second floor open space throughout the library. This is an overview of what the floor plan looks like. Again, we still are making changes even as we speak. This is your new entryway. This entire area is going to be decorated with flexible furniture so that at the drop of a hat we can move everything off the floor and have a grand program with 400 or 500 people and house them easily. The idea is that with the consent of council, we are proposing that that will become a rental space, so it will be available for other organizations to use. We are scattering the seating out through the library. Again, as I mentioned before, we are increasing the number of study kiosks. Those are always in very high demand. And we are moving the collections around so that they make a little bit more space, or a little bit more sense within the space. We are bringing the technology center down to the main floor, and the staircase that currently occupies this space with that grand desk that goes out here is becoming a much smaller unit, and the staircase moves over here and one single service point right here, so that anyone who comes in with a question of any kind has one place to go and they aren't sent from one place to another within the library. The second floor, overlooking the first floor, this is what we are referring to as the reading spa. This is the opened up area with both seating and book stacks as well. We're increasing the number of conference rooms. All 4 of these are brand new. This is where we are moving the administrative offices. Everything is being downsized, consolidated, and pushed back out of prime space, as it should be, in fact. The elevator that I mentioned, whoops, let me take you back a moment. No, I'll stop right here. The next goal is to actually update some of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems that have been not tended quite as the way we should have over the years. They are expensive to update, and we need to do them. We also need to update our Americans with Disabilities Act compliance as well. So we will be adding some new air conditioning equipment, improving the airflow of what we have, and those of you who have been over there know that it can be very hot in one part of the building and very cool in another, replacing the inefficient light fixtures, repairing those that are inoperable, increasing the amount of data outlets and electrical outlets for people, enhancing the wireless system. We will be doing a number of life safety upgrades, and we will also be doing some structural improvements for the seismic performance of the building. And in addition to that, we will, or I should say as part of that, we will be putting in an ADA ramp that will take you from either side, either entrance, up into the stack area. The elevator that we are introducing to the plan is right in the middle of the floor so that anyone can find it. It will be compliant with ADA regulations. Unfortunately, the elevator that we currently have in the back of the building and here in the front of the building, neither one of them are. And they cannot be upgraded without more expense than it would take to build a new one. So the new one and only one has to be somewhere centrally located. We are also upgrading the restrooms to make those ADAs compliant, and they will be very easily accessible and all consolidated in one area. The concern that we have heard from people is the building itself is a prime example of 1973 brutalist architecture, and it is a beautiful example of it. It has, over the years, moved away from that. Some of the changes and some of the uses have taken away its emphasis on the lines and the angles and the concrete forms that are there. And so I think as you see the new plan evolve, you are going to see we are working back to our roots, and we are going to bring more of an emphasis. We can't recreate what has been changed, and we wish we could in many cases, but we will bring back that essential feel of the brutalist architecture. So this is, once again, a way of closing it out, very quickly done. This is the view that we have at the moment of what the entrance will be, and I'm hoping that you will enjoy the opportunity that it will provide for all of us, but certainly Arts and Culture Commission will be a part of the joyful rejuvenation of the library building itself. So, now questions before I quickly go on to our brand? Yes.
Question. You said that the area that is accommodating about 400 or 500 people,
yeah.
it would be kind of ready for rent to be rented out, correct?
If council approves it, it's part of the budget proposal.
And are we going to equip it for different kind of art exhibitions? Is it going to have the proper lighting and the hookups for the hanging of the artwork as well, or not?
That's a complicated one to answer, but I'll try my best. We will have exhibition walls on the main floor, and the idea is that we will definitely want to program those for varying exhibitions. We have done so with movable walls in the past. In terms of the lighting, we will upgrade it as much as we possibly can without losing the architectural element in the coffers themselves. So we had some ideas that didn't work because they would have changed the look of the building too much, and they were not reversible. But within what we can do, the lighting itself will be more efficient, and it will be a higher level of light. I expect what we will do is also purchase some movable walls to go along with the exhibition walls that are permanent, and we will light those as well as the lighting from above, too.
That sounds great. Now, the next question is that I was at that meeting that community participated. One of the concerns, which sounds weird to discuss here on this dais, but nonetheless, there was a major issue as far as the restrooms, because when we are accommodating community in that area, we need to make sure that that is taken care of, both at the present time and in the future, that we are going to expand our programs to be able to have more people participate. So I hope that would be taken seriously.
We did, in fact, take that very seriously and spent a number of hours discussing the possibilities. For those of you who weren't at the meeting, the concern was that we are on the second floor in order to make the auditorium more functional and provide a kitchenette that's usable and an improved projection room and an area for performers and pianos and whatever to be stored and brought in and brought out. We either had to upgrade the restrooms that were up there to make them ADA compliant, which would have taken out a large swath of the area that we otherwise needed for the auditorium improvements, or we would have had to have consolidated down to a single restroom, unisex, which would only accommodate a one-stall system. And the feeling was, and this was not a discussion without enthusiasm, shall we say, on both sides, was what do you do? How do you make everybody happy? And the answer is you can't. So by improving the restrooms on the first floor and making them more numerous, larger, much easier to use, and the elevator that is still there is functioning, and we expect it will function for quite a number of years to take people down from the first floor to from the second floor to the first floor, and adequate signage that sends people downstairs. We are not ideal, but we are also not that much different from some place like the Mark Taper, where you go into the theater and all of the restrooms are downstairs. To have a single stall unit on the second floor, I think we might actually create more of a problem, because you then end up with a line of people who are justifiably unhappy that they don't have access to a restroom. So we have had much discussion on that. At the moment, we are going to keep the restrooms on the ground floor.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Commissioner Gregorian?
I have several comments to make.
Okay.
First of all, it's incredibly exciting and very nice to see that we are going to improve the library the way you described. I think that's just what is needed for our community. And I'm very happy the way that we are designing the entrance from a more appropriate place than kind of a side neglected area. My little concern is you just mentioned that we are going to take a lot of greenery away from there, and hopefully we will replace it somehow, somewhere in some form. And I'll tell you why. You just very rightly again said this is the sign of the 60s and 70s brutal architecture, which is brutal. It's just concrete and glass and no life into it. And me, having been educated as an architect and worked as an architect, I personally don't like these kind of brutal buildings, but it can be done, broken down very clearly by either vegetation and this kind of things, or as we were discussing earlier, hopefully we will put some murals on some of these long and plain walls of the library, maybe some mosaic work or something, and that will definitely break it down. The thing, I'm not quite sure how finalized the plans are and the ideas are, but hopefully they will be into getting this into consideration, because library is kind of an intimate and more kind of a human place. And if you take it out of human scale and make it, all, glass and concrete and no heart and soul, then, it becomes kind of alienated to the purpose that it's supposed to serve. And, again, I'm not quite sure if it is finalized or this will be done, but I hope it will be done. And the murals are one of the things that I really would like to see. One of the places that I'm going to discuss on the next item is that. And one other thing, I do absolutely understand the issue of that central elevator. Mm. I understand everything. Trust me, every time I build a building or I have something, I know what it is. Yeah. But I thought in this building it was in the wrong place. It's right in the middle. It's kind of breaking down the space, and I really hope that they would have found some kind of a better design for it. But overall, this project definitely gets a very high thumbs up from me, because it's very exciting to see all these changes that is happening.
I appreciate your comments, and I probably didn't represent the landscaping as well as I should have. The plans, this does not show the full landscaping. It will be, it's definitely going to be more thoroughly landscaped than this. We have a wonderful landscape architect who is working on developing the plans as we speak, and they do include quite a number of drought-tolerant plants, so we reduce our impact on the water. And he is preserving the pines that are outside the library, so there will be much softer look than it has here. Regarding the murals, I agree with you. I worked on the Pacific Park Edison project, and we tried very hard to get a mural built into that project. I think we will take your recommendation back and consider it.
And one other thing I forgot to say was, I know there are several very good stained glass artists in town. And again, as part of our overall policy of each major project to have some kind of an art component into it. I don't know what the possibilities are for maybe even one of those glass panels or huge panels to kind of be dedicated or allocated as kind of an art piece for a glass artist to create some kind of a nice stained glass art in there, or any of these potentials that they are abundant around here.
I will take that one back and ask the architect. I'm not absolutely sure what the answer is. The nice thing is that if we can't do it on a permanent basis with new exhibition walls and open space, we may be able to do it on a temporary or a revolving basis. So
I'm glad you mentioned that, because my next point was hopefully the lighting inside and the way everything is configured would be appropriate for art and painting exhibitions and things like that. Just like we were discussing on the Civic Auditorium and all these other places. Now that we have this asset which is going to go through this, I hope the architects and the planners will be very much sensitive to that also.
Absolutely, yes. Yes.
Commissioner Lee?
I think it looks great. My only recommendation would be to add hanging lines within the main corridor room. I can already imagine a Chinese dragon that's 100-foot long that will be basically hanging, suspended in the middle of the air, and it will give a vibrant effect to the room and give it some more glamour. And to flip-flop that around is to maybe be able to use that for artists to hang art, throughout the room, and space them out evenly, but not to clutter the room. Mm-hmm. But that would be my only recommendation.
Very interesting suggestion. I don't think anybody has even thought of that before, but I'll take that one back to the architect as well. So thank you all.
Other comments? I had just a couple of quick things I'd just throw out there, because I'm sure some things would have been considered if they were in your budget, but when you're looking at signage and way signage, looking at the opportunity of incorporating artists in the creation of that, to the extent that there's budget to do that, I think that would be fully appropriate and probably very interesting. I also wanted to comment on the maker space. I'm not sure if my colleagues are familiar with what that kind of space is or not.
Which space?
It's maker space. If I may, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a type of space that is sort of sweeping the nation and being incorporated into libraries nationally as well. Usually on the side of education and technology, but there's also the art side of the maker space, where it's really a community space where people can come together and create and educate and innovate in a space. So that's something that I do hope stays into the plan, because I think that's what will make it
very, very. In concept, we're very wedded to it. At the moment, there's not the fund for it, but we are very, very wedded to the concept. So we're trying very hard to make sure it is.
Great. And my other question was the conference rooms expansion up there. Are those going to be available to nonprofit organizations and things, people outside, for a fee or for free?
Currently, they are all fee-based except for students. For students, they are free. So.
Great. And I agree with my colleagues about the installation. Because of those windows, you feel like you want to have something very visible in the artistic realm. And it's pretty obvious, but I wanted to mention it. And then the audio-visual upgrades I saw, too, will be great for the film. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations utilize that space for film screenings and things like that, and having the opportunities to stay up with technology to be able to have higher quality entertainment up there will be terrific.
I agree.
So those are my thoughts.
Well, I will take you very quickly through the Brand Library project. Brand Library is my other big project. I'm on the design group of the Central Library and the construction group of the Brand Library. Are we all set? Almost. The library that you know and love is getting a facelift. Okay, this is what we know. This is what we see from the front porch of the Brand Library and Art Center, and this is what it looked like just a few months ago. Construction started in June, and this is the ultimate goal of the project. It used to be that the gallery, the recital hall, and the atrium in here, the atrium gallery, and then a small area back here, and then there was a very small connector between the 1969 building and the mansion, the 1904 Mr. Brand's mansion. The access route between the two was basically unusable. It was a tiny corridor, it was crowded, and it didn't promote use of the whole building. So what we have done is to enlarge the connector between the two buildings, and we are focusing all of the information in all of its forms, CDs, LPs, everything, back in the 1969 portion of the building. And we are focusing on making the mansion much more of a reading, browsing, studying, relaxing space, and re-emphasizing its historical nature, the building, the house itself. Now, I should introduce here, this is the new connector that we're creating, and it will lead out onto a feature that I think is going to be an absolutely beautiful space. It's a plaza that will probably hold 75 to 100 people, and away from the plaza there's a beautiful ramp that leads to a sidewalk around the front of the building, and then a series of platforms, each accommodating another 25 people if you wanted to stage it for that, and down into the parking lot this way. This is going to be a beautiful feature of the building. This is a sketch of what it will look like. It will be the central entrance to the library, and it is in and of itself not ADA accessible. The ADA entrance will be on the other side of that new connector, so everyone will have easy access into the building, which they did not before. But this is it's a gracious entry that will allow you to go directly into the galleries and the recital hall or into the library and the mansion. It started construction in July, early July. The fence went up, the dirt started being pushed around, and demolition began. This was the first step that was visible from the outside, was when we began pushing the hill around, and we are now creating the steps that go up into the plaza. The plaza is being formed and is almost finished as we speak. The gallery itself became a storage area. We had to take most of the materials that were in the library and put them somewhere with a limited budget. They were boxed and stored on pallets in the gallery area, and then about a third of the collection was brought down to the central library so that we never stopped our service. The gallery and other parts of the building were seismically upgraded. They were bolted down, so the building itself is in good shape now. And we put a new roof on both the old and the new building. We added and upgraded the air conditioning system. There is not an inch to walk on the roof right now. But the lovely part is the way it was designed. You can stand at any point in the park or on your way up to the building, and you will never see the equipment that loads that roof. It's just beautifully done. The inside that used to be, it's the solarium area, the central area of the old mansion that used to house large, very tall bookcases, has been, the bookcases have all been taken out, the walls have been stripped down to their original, and we have reintroduced the openings from the solarium back into the main house. And it is now being mudded and plastered and prepared. It will become an area where a centralized service desk will be located and some computers for public use. And as I mentioned, we are emphasizing the function of the house as a home so that it will be a space where you can go and just take whatever you want to read and relax. The went the wrong way. The fireplace that had long ago been covered up in the 50s and turned into bookcases is being reproduced. And the form is already there. The brick interior is there. We are very soon going to put the front on, or the face on the fireplace. Let me see if I can get this. Okay. The elements that highlighted it are all being put back in place, and it will be gorgeous. We are, as we worked around the house, we came up with a number of surprises. In the parlor, which was the first room from the front door on your right, we found a door that we had absolutely no idea was there. It was behind the wallpaper, and it stopped all work that day. And everyone gathered the next day and dramatically opened the door to find out what was inside, hoping it would be $1 million, which would allow us to do everything we wanted.
A lot of Rembrandt paintings and things.
Instead of $1 million, we found something almost as valuable, and it doesn't show up very well here, but there is a pedestal, and the detailing on the pedestal indicated that it was original to the house. The initials LCB are right there. It was all plaster. It was attached to the wall. And we found a picture that indicated there was a statue that sat on top of the pedestal, and nobody had really noticed it before. So we are having that reproduced, and it will be a prominent part of the parlor. As we moved through the building, we found that when you took off the wall covering that was there, the original colors were on the walls. So we are going back and reproducing those colors. This is what used to be the art reference area, and it's a beautiful green. And again, the colors don't always transfer the way you want them to in a photograph, but we are matching what we found on the wall to what we are putting on the wall. They will be brilliant colors, by the way. They are just rich and historical. In addition, we found on the ceilings of the rooms, the 4 front rooms and 1 small room on the side, we found stenciled paintings, beautiful paintings, different style in each room. They were thoroughly documented and photographed. They were on very, very thin plaster, so thin that they were crumbling as we walked through the building, and they were asbestos laden as well. So we had them very carefully removed and boxed as many as we could. We were able to preserve 6 in beautiful condition in the boxes. We will, with whatever money we can scrape together, have them put into frames, and they will be on display in the building. We have had the historic preservation subcontractor on the project reproduce the paintings as they were at the time, and we are having them placed up, not on panels this way. This was just a test to see how it would work, but we are going to have them redrawn on the ceilings. So this is one of the artists from the company who is drawing them all out very carefully on tissue paper, and then we are putting them up around the rooms. They will be in the entry hall. This is the deep original, the deep original color of the entry hall and the more dainty color of the parlor. The dining room area, you can see the stencils all up around the wall as they prepare to put them up on the ceiling. This is a brilliant deep blue in the dining room. And when it's all done, the mess that we are living through now, and believe me, it is a mess up there, will turn into an absolutely gorgeous project. So I hope you will join me on June 3rd. I'd love to take you through it.
Thank
Any
you.
questions?
Just that area that little area, yard or whatever it's called, atrium.
The atrium?
Next to the exhibition hall. What happened to it? Because there was a beautiful tree there.
There was a tree there that couldn't be kept because we had a lot of work we needed to do under the ground. The plumbing runs through there, and the plumbing was so old, it was corroded to the point where I think if you had used it one more time, it probably would have burst. It was in terrible condition. So it had to be, the tree had to come out in order for us to do the work we needed underneath.
What about the area? The area is still going to be that
It's still
open
there,
area?
and it's going to be paved with beautiful stone pavers, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Beautiful job. Whatever you're describing is just, would we see all of that by June 3rd or just?
No, I wish. No, but you will get a good sense of it. We will be able to show you the colors in the rooms. You will begin to see, I don't know how far along the stenciling will be, but you will see a fair hint of what we're getting.
Should we go to the Brand Park and then wait till everybody gets there? Or?
Yes, and
I will send you the information. So if there are any consideration in terms of the dress code, what's going to be appropriate to do toward the site, I will email you all of those details.
Comfortable shoes, please.
I know this because I'm always told not to wear my stilettos, so I will let you all know what's appropriate for a tour.
Thank you all very much.
Commissioner Gregorian?
I love the way this has worked out. I am very much fond of restoring the old and historical buildings. I've done a few myself, and I love it. And I think you guys have done a great job. I just cannot wait for June 3rd and beyond to see this open and active again.
I appreciate that. I should say, follow us on Facebook. We have almost weekly updates and photographs with little bits of information about what's going on.
And if I were you, I would really look in the cellars and things. You might find a lot of artwork in there.
Okay.
Commissioner Lee?
Well, I was fortunate enough to go on that tour last time, so I'm going to be even more impressed to see the progress.
And you will be happy to know we did take your advice, too.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
So,
other comments? Thank you very much.
Very much.
Next item, please.
At B, Library Arts and Culture Events, presented by Chuck Wyke, Community Relations Manager.
Thank you, Chairperson Deaver, Commissioners. city staff. I'll make this very brief for you. We have a number of great events coming up towards the end of this month and in next month. On May 23rd at our Central Library, we have a documentary filmmaker, Robert Davidian. He's going to screen his film, Armenian Activists Now, Birth of a Movement. And he works in human rights documentary films. Here's an interesting one. On Tuesday, June 4th, if you're not at the City Council meeting, the Glendale Community College Small Ensembles will perform at the Central Library. Normally, those small ensembles of 2 to 5 instrumentalists perform in a small room at GCC, and we're happy to host their spring concert. And that's Tuesday, June 4th, 7 p.m., Central Library Auditorium. On Wednesday, June 5th, you can take a photographic journey to Armenia and Karabakh with Matthew Karanian. He's written a travel guide to Armenia. So, anybody wants to visit Armenia, come to the library Wednesday, June 5 at 7 p.m. He'll talk about his book, Armenia and Karabakh, The Stone Garden Travel Guide. Towards the end of the month, right after the holiday, we will start our summer reading program. All ages, children's, teens, and adults. Everybody gets to participate. There's incentives. We want you to read books. We want you to read your magazines on your iPads. We'll send out information about that, but that's for all ages. And finally, late in June, June 26th, I'll probably tell you about this next week, the staff of Brand Library and I are working on a singer-songwriter series. We thought, well, let's try something different. We have a really fine singer. Maggie McClure is going to be in concert. She's a working musician. She lives in Glendale. She's placed a number of songs on television and movies, and she's willing to come and play for us. So she'll be there at the end of June. We'll send you more information about that. Facebook, you'll get our emails and so forth. How's that?
Thank you. Any comments? Thank you very much. Next item.
Item 5, business agenda. At A, information items. At 1, update on work plan and implementation.
So this is just a status update. I know when we were discussing our work plan, approving it, we had a lot of discussions, a lot of different priorities and budgets going back and forth. So I just wanted to give you an update as to when some of these priority projects and discussions are going to be presented to you. Just in case if you were wondering, and just also the timing of when the staff is available and what we're doing ahead of time before the council has the opportunity to review and approve the work plan. So this month, you will be reviewing and providing direction on mural projects. That's the next item. I'm currently working with the Cultural Data Project to do training and to set up the grant process, which I discussed with you last month. Although the City Council has not yet reviewed or approved the work plan, which includes some enhancements, which could include enhancements to the lower level of the Civic Auditorium. I know it is such a priority for the Commission. I am engaging in conversation just to see what the timing and potential opportunities are for that space, but of course we can't commit to anything. I'm also sitting on the city's website redesign team, so that is in development, and our website will be designed through that process. Next month, I will provide an update on the temporary art displays in the CSP facilities. You reviewed and approved that policy, but we still need to look at the guidelines for reviewing artwork and fine-tune that. I will have updated information on insurance. We're still looking at options for reducing that cost and what makes the most sense for all of those facilities. And then we can also discuss the phasing of the installations, when we want to issue the call for artists and how long it'll be available. And then we'll also bring forward the gate item so you can review and provide direction on the future of that program. Also, at that month, the council is, at this point, is scheduled to make their appointments for the commissions. It may be rescheduled, but I just wanted to give you a timeline of when that discussion may take place. In July, staff from community development, specifically planning and the urban design studio, will provide a presentation on the existing zoning codes and incentives for arts and creative businesses. I know Commissioner Gregorian is going to be excited to hear some of the discussions. So we're going to be, after that discussion, then you can consider focus areas of discussion. So if there's something that you want to focus in, I think I've given you about 4 or 5 different areas of focus. Once we get that presentation, then we can look into what's the area that we want to focus. And as of right now, July 9th, the council is scheduled to review and hopefully approve the 2-year work plan, the budget, as well as the Urban Art Fund appropriations. I know that there is one other item that was requested by Commissioner Gregorian, which was the Friends of the Arts Commission. So I know our city attorney is working on that report, and as soon as it's completed, I will schedule it in within the next couple of months. I wasn't sure when it would be done, so it's still on our radar. That actually concludes this information update. It's not an action item, so I just wanted to let you know what was on the horizon, and should changes be made on the date of the appointments or when the council's reviewing our work plan, I will be sure to send you updates.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Paranesi.
Just wanted to ask what happened with the 401c status, because we were talking about the fact that if we are going to have fundraisers for different events that we do and etc., commission would need to have that in case we want to have community participate or make donations and etc.
I think that's a part of the report that Mr. Grant was going to prepare, was the different types of committees that can be created per your request, and what the bureaucracy or the process for each is, and then some of those discussions. And the 501c3 should, a committee be formed that is going to be a nonprofit, he can provide that information too.
Other questions?
Just a comment.
Commissioner Gregorian?
Ms. Vartanian, I really, again, have to thank you for all your hard work, all these great reports that you are bringing. And, the staff, Ms. Cleary, Yvonne Martinez, yourself, and everybody else has been just outstandingly amazing. And, we are making a lot of good progress. This is a good plan, and I just want to, again, acknowledge you on the air how I appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.
And it doesn't come very easily from me. If I say something, I really mean it.
Well said. Next item.
At B, action items. At 1, mural and neighborhood beautification projects. Motion providing direction to staff.
During oral communications, we heard about a lot of the benefits of murals and neighborhood beautification projects, and this was something that the Commission stated that they could quickly implement because they really do make a big splash, and they're rather, easy to implement. Just to reiterate some of the benefits of murals, again, they enhance the visual experience, they increase community pride, they're actually shown to reduce graffiti in neighborhoods. It helps increase the pedestrian activity, whether it's in a commercial corridor or even in residential neighborhoods. And then it also brings art to the masses. People who may not traditionally go to a gallery or the museums, they're able to experience art during their everyday life. Now, I prepared just 3 different potential mural programs that fit within the arts and cultural plan. They're projects, and some of them, the objectives meet what the Commission wanted. You stress the importance of engaging the youth, increasing community pride through art. So one of the first ones is Great American Cleanup and a youth and community mural. As mentioned, we're getting more and more community members and teens looking to volunteer at Great American Cleanup. But we don't have less and less graffiti to paint out and litter to pick up. So a great way to engage a group that's already meeting and ready to do something positive in our community is to identify multiple locations throughout the city. It could be in conjunction with an event that's already taking place. The neighborhood services and outreach staff is already engaging all of the youth and community members. And what a project like this would mean is, we would, issue RFPs, get a few street artists to do some sort of like a stenciling, and then you bring the community in. They actually work with the street artists to paint. Similar programs like this in other communities, their budget is anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000. We budgeted about $5,000 per mural, and of course, we would be painting on city property, and it would be led by staff, but it would definitely engage the community. A great example, we all know about the Maple Park Community Center mural. That really, again, is such an important part of that community center, as well as the people that live in the area. Another great example is the 46th Street mural project in Seattle, which does exactly that. It goes into blighted areas, and street artists come and actually do a lot of that stenciling work ahead of time, and they get youth and residents in the area to come and paint. So it really does increase community pride. Another potential project is a utility box paint out, which essentially you contract local artists to create art on public utility boxes. We could look at this as a phased approach, starting in the downtown. That's where the big concentration of these utility boxes are. And we could, of course, we would coordinate with Public Works Department and the Downtown Glendale Association to really think of where we could make a big impact with this. The budget for a project like this is generally about $500 to $1,000 a utility box. Again, we would look at starting in a specific area, get as many of those utility boxes as we could, and then we would look at other cluster areas in our community to be able to branch out. A really popular program like this is in San Luis Obispo, and they have a theme of it's related to beach activities, so it definitely fits in with that community. It's one of the most popular, well-known programs, and they've been doing it for some time. And of course, Pasadena has one, and there's revolves around the theme of free speech. So a lot of these programs, the community or the commission thinks of a theme, and then that's what they direct the artists to do. They create their own masterpiece, but within the theme that we give them. And finally, another one is really to look at our parking garages as a canvas. The commission mentioned, it would be great to see a mural on the library because there's such a large facade. Our parking garages are in the middle of our downtowns, and they really don't interact with the pedestrians, and they're just kind of a big blob that sits in one of the busiest areas in the downtown. So we would then again look to contract artists to integrate public art into the garages on the exterior, where people could see that. And of course, we would be coordinating with Public Works. An estimated budget is between $5,000 and $10,000 per mural. There's programs that budget half of that to more than double, as we heard in Philadelphia. It's again, what the commission is willing to invest and how much we could really invest in this program. The most popular one is the mural that's the murals at the West Hollywood Library parking garage. They commissioned 3 street artists, the most famous Shepard Fairey, to paint these, and they're just beautiful masterpieces. Everyone I think knows about these murals. So we may not be able to get Shepard Fairey, but we can get local street artists or muralists to really come and to look at the garages and to really think about how they can use art to really bring that garage to life. I think the most effective way of of engaging artists and creating interest is through issuing requests for proposals, because that way we could give an overview of the project goals. What are we looking to achieve out of this? The design and proposal criteria, again, we could relate themes if, the commission wants to do something that has to do with forests in the downtown. Just throwing something out there. You would mention that's the type of art that you want to see in this specific mural, and the artist could respond to that. We would also identify the selection process and the criteria so that the artists know what they're responding to and how their proposals are going to be reviewed and approved. And I think it's really important to always include a project location if we have some locations in mind, so that artists can visit those locations and know exactly what that environment is, and so that they can prepare proposals that speak to that. And of course, we need to give budget and timelines so that artists, when they're responding, they know when and how much they can commit to the project. Now, these are some ideas for you to consider. As mentioned, the council is not going to review the work plan until July, but I really wanted us to start thinking about some of your priority programs and projects ahead of time, so once they do approve the work plan, we can really just dive in and start working and not lose a couple of months engaging in some of these conversations. Now, the commission had approved a budget of $20,000 for murals and neighborhood beautification, but I think to get a lot of buy-in when we were approving the work plan, we were really focused on what that annual budget is. And the good thing is there is some flexibility. You did approve a specific amount of money for permanent or temporary art on city property. So if you really wanted to do 2 of these projects, you're not going to be limited to that $20,000, because parking garages or utility boxes are city property, and if it's something really important to you, you can also use some of that money to be able to invest in this. But I don't want you to put all of your money or start using all of the money for just one art type. But I want you to know that there is some flexibility, and we could do that. So today, for me to be able to move forward and at least prepare some sort of a call for artists or an RFP, I would like to know which of these projects is highest priority. If you know of any other mural programs or projects that you want to consider, and also if you have any ideas for possible mural or project themes. I think we know that whatever proposals are provided, it's all about creating that neighborhood pride, engaging the community. I think that's been loud and clear from the commission. I think it's very important that whatever project that you select or direct me to work on would have that component.
Thank you, and thanks for putting out the direction items. I was making a little list to help us organize our thoughts up here, and when they match that perfectly, so that's great. And also, I would just add if there's any just specific or general questions, but I'd like to open up for commissioner comment and questions. Commissioner Gregorian. No, that was.
I have some comments, but okay, I will start. Thank you. I think again this mural project is great. Just like, and I want to repeat the comment I made just a few minutes ago about the other item of the agenda. The only thing that I'm concerned, and I personally don't like it, is this utility boxes and artwork in there for several reasons, and if you want I can go into some of the reasons. But I think overall what we really have to consider, I'm very excited about these murals. I cannot wait for us to come up with a location and a theme and an RFP and a proposal and start. I just cannot wait. I think that's what I'm looking for. But there are several things on these murals that we really have to consider, and I'm not quite sure how we do it, whether through this or whether the proposal or in the future. First of all, how do we maintain those? Some of them, of course, are probably maintenance-free up to a point, but there is a weatherization in there, there is rain, there is smog, whatever. And also, what if they are kind of defaced by, say some vandals or some kids or whatever, graffiti? Do we have a budget for this, for annual or regular maintenance of this?
Well, most mural, I could have gone into more detail, and we will, specify some of this when we do issue the call for artists. Murals are never permanent. They do have a shelf life. There is also an anti-graffiti coating that you can put on. So generally communities that do have a mural program, some just request that the artists commit to that the artwork is going to last a certain number of years. Even though the mural may last 20 years, they may just keep it for 10 years and then they paint over it and then they start from scratch again. I know Philadelphia does have a maintenance and conservation program, so they do dedicate some of their funds for that. So, but we also have the staff that does do the graffiti cleanup in our community. So if we were to cover all the murals with a protective coating, that they would be able to maintain that through one of the services that the community provides. What I would say is, although we have to consider maintenance, and if it begins to fade, it's not something that we're going to have to worry about right away. The artists that do murals and street artists plan for this. They generally, if they are a good artist and have experience, they do integrate, materials that are able to last through rain, sunlight, and all of the other elements.
Yes,
so
of
we
course,
will look into that.
That's really good. One of the ways of doing the murals is where it is not really approachable much to graffiti seekers. And I don't know how that is, but maybe we can identify some locations where it is much more difficult for access to vandals. That's one of the ways of doing it. But you see, my concern was, yes, I understand that most murals have a shelf life or a certain life. But I can tell you 3 artists of national importance, Diego Rivera in Mexico, Arshil Gorky in the US, and Minas Avetisian in Armenia, who have had many excellent murals when they were not as great artists as they ended up to be. And because of lack of maintenance, these great works of art have been either destroyed or not taken care of, or in a very, very, very bad shape, except for some of the works of Diego Rivera. So, yes, I understand that, Rivera, Avetisian, and Gorky are probably 1 in a million. But I am really hoping that we would have those artists from Glendale too. We have incredibly talented artists and painters and muralists in Glendale, and hopefully they will become a national hero and an internationally known artist. And basically what I'm concerned is, I don't want to just protect everything just because in case, but there are some really good people, and I think basically what I'm trying to say is protection of this work and thinking of them in advance based on our experience with Gorky, Rivera, and Avetisian is what I really would like to also be implemented somewhat, as practical as possible, into our plan. That's basically, the main point.
Okay.
And the reason I'm not really very sure about the utility boxes, because again, they are utility boxes. They are known as utility boxes. They might be dull looking, they might be drabby, whatever. We can add some paint or something, but I don't think that's really a good media to paint on or put some really artwork from good artists in the community on. For a very simple reason, again, because some people might add graffiti, and these utility boxes one day may become obsolete, so what do we do with the artwork, etc., etc. I think probably utility boxes should be left as utility boxes, and for murals, there are millions of other places that we can consider. So personally, I'm just not much for it. And
if I could get you to just, between the 2 other projects that you seem very enthusiastic about, which is great, which is more of a priority? Would you, because of limited funds, would you want to pursue the art on parking garages or the community partnering with the All-American cleanup? I can't remember it right now.
Great American Cleanup.
Great American Cleanup, thank you. Since there were two different projects, is there one that you think is more of a priority for you?
I'm not quite sure I understand the question.
Yeah, me too.
So I presented three different types of projects the commission could undertake. So the first one is partnering with the Great American Cleanup, which is a community grassroots event that already takes place. With that, we would identify different locations, so city property throughout the entire community that we could paint murals. That project would include muralists and street artists with the community members. So the muralists or the street artists would almost do the stencil, and then the community members would then paint, and it would almost be like paint by colors, but it would be a community effort. The other project is actually getting muralists, and on their own they would do a mural project on the parking garage. So, one has a little bit more community participation, whereas the other one is more about creating that masterpiece on a parking garage. So
Why only on parking garage?
that was
Why not, let's say, the library that we were just talking about?
that is exactly something that you can consider. I mean, that's one of the questions.
So a mural on the, let's say, just as an example, for the sake of the discussion, a mural on the central library wall is equivalent of your concept of a mural on a parking structure wall. Right? Is that more or less what you're saying?
Let me suggest this. If we might go around and offer, if there were other ideas that people have that are not listed here, then we can throw those out on the table and determine whether they might fall under one of these categories in some sort of RFP process, just to kind of keep it a little bit clean. Does that work for folks? Because I think that's an appropriate question about, are there other types of locations, and is that something else that we would want to prioritize instead of, or could that potentially be part of the arts and parking garages, which in really is public owned property for large scale murals? Because I had the same question about, City Hall, I don't know what's going to happen downstairs on the interior as an example, but that would be an opportunity for a mural, or even in our plaza out here in City Hall. So there are probably other locations. I don't think we need to get into real specific detail at this point, because we're just going to big picture. But can we go around and just throw those out?
So, yes, but, okay, we will discuss that later. But I think the really important, especially to start with, the location and the first project is very important. So whatever we do after we discuss here with the colleagues, then I will tell you, I will answer I think I understand your question now. Thank you.
Commissioner Lee.
Well, I see that we have an expert or a muralist out in the field there. If you don't mind giving us some suggestions, I would love to hear what you would think would be a good place to start. And
we have a card?
Yeah.
With just an announcement of, could you also just fill out a card just so we have that for the record? Sorry. You can chat first and submit it later. It's okay, thanks.
Hi, again, my name is Roger Dolan. I'm a muralist for 30 years. I have my own company called Mural Environments, and for the last 10 years I've been working on community projects, many of which are here in Glendale. Is there any specific question first?
Where would you where would you think of a
okay,
place?
so there's other options for murals besides paint. There's mosaic, and maybe it's a little more upfront cost, but it's going to last forever. So that's something to think about. There's also, I've been working with Ken Twitchell, who I would put in that category of one-in-a-lifetime artist, who also works with a mural conservator, Nathan Zackheim, who's developed a couple of mural procedures. Spraying certain types of chemicals on your acrylic paint will make that last for 100 years instead of 20, 30. Small investment for that. Certain types of anti-graffiti coatings will make the mural deteriorate sooner, so there's a wax coating, but it takes more maintenance. But then that mural will last for 100 years. So there's that. Community murals, I don't see why we couldn't do a combination of well-known famous artists with communities too. They do a lot of that in all these cities. They do murals in a day, so that the costs aren't that much up front, but you get a lot of community participation activity. Also, murals are a great way to get kids involved, bring them back into our community. And we got a lot of kids here that really need something like this. So this is a golden opportunity for Glendale to do this kind of thing. Gosh, I could go on and on.
Was there a specific?
I think we more or less should get into one or the other or both, and then when it comes the time, absolutely we would need you to be on the committee.
I would be very happy to consult and to talk to you about what we do with the kids at Daly. We don't just have them paint murals, we teach them too. We have them teach them to mix colors, and so we're not only just getting murals done by them, we're also teaching them. So, yeah.
Any location that you're thinking about that you pass by all the time?
Yeah, when you drive down Brand, there's big storage buildings there that would just. I think if we did something like that as a community project, and I just heard recently at LACMA, 1,500 people got together for one piece of art. We could get the whole community involved and put that up on the storage buildings on Brand. That would draw so much attention. That would be amazing.
Thank you.
But these are private buildings, though.
Yeah, but private buildings are allowed.
Yes, they are allowed, but the owner also has to give us permission, and it has to go through a certain process.
Yeah, that's right. But we're not in Los Angeles here where they have a moratorium on murals. So, yeah, you're allowed to put murals on private buildings and government buildings. So.
Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure.
Should I go with my vote or suggestion? How does it
Commissioner
work?
Terhavanasian.
I would like to see both, if the money would work, because I would like to see famous artists do their work in our city. Meanwhile, I would like to have the participation of our youngsters and community, because whatever is created by community is going to be liked and preserved, and kind of it creates the ambiance that we want. But it doesn't mean that we do not want the famous artists to be there. So people from elsewhere would come and see our buildings because of both. So I go for both.
And so, would you prefer something that focuses that we tie into an existing event like the Great American Cleanup, or do you want, in addition to that, do you want to look at city properties that could also be painted? I mean, are you looking at both of those?
Absolutely.
Okay.
City properties to be painted by famous artists, and then also we would have so that's why I want to see both simultaneous if the money would allow us.
If I may ask a question to clarify for myself or to answer you later. The Great American Cleanout is usually for places where there is already a graffiti or something and they kind of paint over. I mean, I'm not quite sure. Well, you can also use it as a mural later on. But do they get involved in, let's say, really nice and clean walls and get the kids involved to do that? They do that?
Yes. And part of the issue with the Great American Cleanup is we get hundreds and close to thousands of people volunteering, but there isn't that much to clean up or paint out. So knowing that they have this grassroots group of people that are looking to get involved, so you have families, you have seniors, you have residents, you have the teenagers, since that's already set up, this would be a perfect opportunity for a project that, Mr. Dolan said that it's, again, bringing, big name artists to a group. So, and some of these areas that do experience a lot of graffiti, it's been shown that, when you put murals up in areas that do get a lot of vandalism or graffiti, it really helps reduce that type of activity. So we would be identifying city walls or, properties that would be ideal for that. And to reiterate, when we look at a budget for this specific type of program, we would look at, budgeting in the cost of putting that protective coating on it, and then we also have a maintenance and conservation budget that we've been budgeting as part of our work plan. So we are considering some of the things that Mr. Dolan mentioned.
And in the budget budget items that you have here, the amounts that you have, sorry, that includes our staff overtime of overseeing the program as well in some capacity? Is that?
Which staff?
You. I'm just wondering. I was just trying to understand how the numbers were.
I'm as a management and salaried employee. You could work me to death, and you don't have to worry about overtime costs. So, and then again, the staff that's already, if we were to, for example, engage with the Great American Cleanup, the staff is already organizing volunteers and doing that coordination. So we really wouldn't have to worry about a lot of staff costs as part of the budget. So that's one of the reasons I looked at this. It's already a process that's in place that we could really just tie in a mural program. And just to let you know, actually, the Great American Cleanup is this Saturday. So, I'm hoping we can get things done for this weekend. I'm just kidding. It would actually be for next year, but we're planning ahead of time. So, if you were to do that program, that would be in a year from now. But we could do something much quicker this summer, as soon as it's, at the end of the summer, as soon as the council approves the budget. So,
if I can make a suggestion or give my thoughts on it, in that, given the budget and the time frame, like we're talking about the Great American Cleanup or whatever it's called for next year, that actually seems to me to be an appropriate type of project for, say, the utility boxes, which I know Commissioner Gregorian said he doesn't like. But in some ways, if the community is there, or you're involving neighborhoods more specifically in this project and using that day as the umbrella over it, by engaging the youth and engaging the people in those particular neighborhoods where that's happening, you're less likely to have maybe graffiti and issues of that nature, I think, because you have people who are invested in it, and they're the ones that are walking by it every day. So I actually kind of like the utility concept, and I've seen them other places, any of those types of things that people just take for granted and it's sort of drab. If you can dress it up a little bit, I think it's an easier way and a kind of fun way to be able to involve the community. So for me, I would love to be able to say, as a direction from my opinion, would be to have you all come back with maybe a broader list or more specific list with regard to the parking garages. I love the parking garages idea because I can't envision them right now, but I'm assuming they're pretty large, impactful opportunities. And I think having an RFP that would be out for either a specific artist, but maybe we would emphasize we would like some sort of community involvement. So that doesn't have to be very specific. We just want really fancy artists to come and do some big mural so that we can see what kind of other ideas are out there. And that would be part of the RFP process. So I like the idea of having something that's big and impactful. I don't think it has to be limited to the parking garages. And part of what I would like to have come back would be that, but other larger scale opportunities, whether interior public spaces or exterior. And I think then we could have a more informed discussion about that at a much more detailed level when the time is appropriate. So that's something that I would like to see. But I think because of the budget and what I'm seeing here, we still have an opportunity to say, yes, I would also like to have something smaller scale, whether it's utility boxes or smaller scaled projects within neighborhoods specifically that very specifically involves the community. And maybe it's in conjunction with an event like you've mentioned, or it's something that's organized or orchestrated through the housing, residential boards that are in different neighborhoods of that nature. So those are sort of the two frameworks in which I would like to see more information come back that we could then put out RFPs for, and those as two sort of discrete types of projects over the next year or so. Is that clear?
That's very clear.
Okay.
Just one thing I need to add. For the major artwork, big projects for artists, famous artists or whatever, I actually don't want the garage parking areas, but if it comes to that, we'll start from other areas that are more there for everybody to see and enjoy. And then if we are limited to the places and we cover every area that could be covered, then I would think we could go to the parking spaces, because then that would add on to it.
Yeah, what I can do is, if it's helpful, when I bring back these two different proposals, I can expand the one that was parking garages to city properties, because that actually falls within one of the program areas, which was temporary permanent art on city property. So I can go through and kind of canvass and see what properties the city owns, because, we're usually easier to deal with when we deal with ourselves than private entities. So I can do that, and we can then go through and look at what are some of the potential locations, and then we can expand it beyond the parking garage. So I
That
can
would be
do
great.
that.
And just to emphasize, I think the expediency was the reason that we were focusing on public opportunities. And to the note of our speaker earlier, the idea of doing private opportunities, I think, would be sort of a second phase, because then it would be an RFP that basically goes out to business owners or a letter of interest or something that would like to be part of the program, and we can help do the matchmaking at that point and figure out those details. But it's so much more complicated. It seems like a second phase to me.
And as part of an RFP, maybe we can even send the RFPs to property owners and ask if they would like to volunteer their buildings into a mural project.
Sure, if it's not as complicated. That's why I was thinking as a second, just because it adds an extra layer, but it depends on how complicated. It seems more complicated to me. But
I think what we can do is we can say the first phase would be just city property, because I think once property owners see that the city's investing on its own property, it might be easier, so we can look at a two-phased approach.
Sounds great.
And the only other thing I wanted to add when you're thinking about smaller scale community projects like the Great American Cleanup, but also on the public works end of things, this kind of fits into me as well. When you have construction, for instance, that the city might be involved in, you've got this construction fences, or if you have a long-term public works project that's maybe down a street that's going to be being worked on for the next couple of months, more of a temporary kind of project, I think that could be thrown in along with that concept of the smaller scale utility boxes and such.
You're right. Actually, I've seen what you were suggesting in Russia. Wherever there is construction, the fence is covered with the facade of the building that is sort of, if you look from far, you think the building is there, but it's not. It's just the fence, and they're working behind it. So it makes the city beautiful all the time, and I was fascinated because it's a detailed work. It's not just a scramble thing. Beautiful facade of the whatever was supposed to be built or was being renovated. So that's a great idea. Thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah.
We've taken over on this end. We have comments from.
I'm just waiting my turn.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're all caught up in the idea. Of course, it's a good idea of the Great American Cleanup. We love the neighborhood activity and so forth. But my question is, I know the city is going through the branding phase. Has there been any kind of thematic idea or thematic elements to that has been brought up in conversation?
You mean with the branding? I mean, we do have a tagline, and we have specific keywords that represent the city. So, animated, dynamic, vibrant, exciting, family, neighborhood. All of these words described. So that's something that I can present a list of the Glendale vocabulary to the commission, and you can look and come up with a theme that way, if you'd like.
That would be great, because then I think it makes any one of these projects kind of viable in that sense, because to paint a utility box doesn't sound like a fun idea sometimes, but it certainly can be when certain thematic elements are tied in, that one box doesn't look so radically different from another. And of course, freedom of speech issues come up in that sense, but that's kind of how things just tie together, and I think that would be a clever idea. Philosophically, I tend to go more towards the Great American Cleanup idea, because we all want to see, and we've all talked about it for such a long time, to see neighborhood activity. I'm in complete alliance with my colleagues in terms of the public spaces in which we can do these murals. I don't think they have to be separate. I think we can have a great artist come and set up something for the neighborhood and to be involved with. I don't think that those are mutually exclusive necessarily. And actually, part of the interest that I have with specifically these projects is that the entire idea, and the reason why I'm not actually opposed to the utility box, is because it's all about transforming something. It's not necessarily, okay, that's a utility box, it should look like a utility box. Yeah, but that's not what necessarily it's about. It's about transforming it. It's about making anything into a canvas, because you really can. So people do it on their bodies all the time. I mean, one of my friends he got a tattoo done, and I mean, I looked at it, and it was of his hand and his wife's hand, and of course he just had a son who's about to turn a year old, and it's his footprints, and it's on his chest, and it's a work of art. It's like if it was on a canvas, you'd go look at it and you'd say, wow, this is really beautiful, but I don't have any tattoos, so I'm not a proponent of them necessarily, but.
Are you sure?
Yeah, definitely. Trust me, I don't. My mother would have had kicked me out of the house a long time ago if that had happened. But anyway, I think I've made my point. I'm not saying that we should do one or the other, really, but I think from a philosophical standpoint, the most important is the Great American Cleanup idea, and then the rest for me really is about budgeting and who we can get through RFPs. And I don't think we should really close out any doors at this point. Thank you.
Other comment? Commissioner Lee?
I agree with everybody. But for me, I think for us to start with, and economically speaking, working with an organization that's already been doing this, I think would be a very strong start. And especially economically wise too. We probably won't need to do as much funding, and or we can actually do more projects jointly with them to start off, and then to the next progression, then we move into the city properties, and then to private properties. I think that would be a good stepping stone.
Commissioner Gregorian?
The answer to your question that you asked initially, my point is, I wish we could do both. I mean, one of each. That way, not only we get an artist and commission him or her to do whatever, also we involve the community on another project, and then at the end of the year, we can assess and learn from the experiences of these both experience, and hopefully plan better for the following year. But if there has to be just one project, as much as I love to get the community involved in every project that there is, I would probably go for just selecting an artist and commissioning him or her to do a work, if there is going to be one. But I personally hope that my colleagues will agree with me and hope that we will have one of each, and I think that way we will accomplish a lot more than we will do with just one project.
Well, I think I've gotten enough feedback, so I'm just going to reiterate what I think I've heard and give you, let you know what I'll come back with. I think most of you want to be able to do two different types of projects. One, both of them involving the community, but one very much about the community. So maybe partnering with Great American Cleanup. So whether the murals are the utility boxes or another surface, I believe we could use the budget for the neighborhood beautification mural for something like that, which was about $20,000. And then I've also heard that you really want to be able to see something beautiful, really an artwork, whether it's a mural painted or mosaic on city property, potentially the library, and that could come out of the temporary or permanent art on city property fund that you had budgeted. So what I can do is prepare, two RFPs that respond to those two things, so that you can actually bundle this time and get the two projects that you really want. And I think the one on city property could probably happen, faster if we do decide to tie into Great American Cleanup, which would be next year. But at least you would have, something immediate and then something next year. And I think we could then assess the success of those for the coming years. So that's the report I'll bring back to you.
Excellent sum up.
That's great.
Very
And I'm going to
Sorry, if I may cut you off, sorry. And also the city branding idea.
Yes, I think that's a wonderful idea. The tagline for the community is "Your life animated." Life can be changed to your neighborhood animated, your business animated, your family animated. So it really plays off of that. So when I do bring back the report, I can bring you again that list of vocabulary, and we can pick something that really responds to the community and the direction we're moving in.
And I just wanted to put out there so I don't forget, and so it's just on the record as well, but we're looking at either public property or if down a phase 2 somewhere down the road we're going to do private. I think the opportunity of doing gateways into Glendale, like into Eagle Rock or at the Atwater or other gateways, so that people, it's a great way to be able to recognize the city if there are opportunities for surfaces like that in those areas. And then also down the road thinking about engaging the different neighborhoods of Glendale. So again, going kind of thematically, like maybe every year we invite neighborhoods to put in a proposal, whether it's through whatever groups they have that are active in those communities, so they could say, we this year would like to be the neighborhood that sponsors this, and then we can involve the community. So that's just, again, sort of a thematic kind of programmatic component that I would like to chat about at a future date. And because you had themes up there, this was brought in by a community member, and so I wanted to get it out there before I forget. But the concept of bullying that goes on in schools was brought to my attention, and challenges with regard to cultural diversity and people getting along, and that was a theme that was presented to me as being something that would be very important, and would love to engage kids and the community members in working on something that helped bring people together and recognize the importance of the harmony of our cultural diversity. Yeah, got it. Thank you.
And one last comment. Let's try to be as frugal with the budget as possible, as you know.
Yes.
Is this an action? Sorry.
This is an action item. So, I did get enough direction. So, if one of the commissioners wants to make a motion to direct staff to come back with a report with the 2 programs, as I mentioned, that's what we need.
I will make that motion. Whatever you just said.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
No, correct, yeah.
Okay, roll call.
Seconded, good.
Roll call.
There are many seconders here.
That's good.
Since you've already built consensus anyway, so then.
Commissioners de Hermanesian?
Yes.
Gregorian?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Kevanian?
Yes.
Chairperson Deaver?
Yes.
Item 6,
Did we
Commission
know what the
staff
motion was,
comments.
though?
Yes.
I got the impression that we got clarity on the motion. Yes. Yes. Next item. Sorry.
Item 6, Commission staff comments.
Ms. Vartanian.
I do have an exciting update just to give. I did email the commission, and we've actively been promoting an exciting event that's happening this Sunday, May 19th, from 12 to 3 p.m. at City Hall at the MSB building. The Machine Project, which is a local performing arts group, is going to have a participatory art performance as part of the Getty's Pacific Standard Time Presents Modern Architecture in LA. The group selected the Municipal Services Building. That's the building on the 4 stilts. It's a beautiful building, and it's widely recognized throughout the region for its futuristic look. So the event is open to the community. So we encourage community members who are interested in getting involved in history, really, to come. Again, it's Sunday, May 19th, from 12 to 3 p.m. It's actually going to be led by sound artist and Cal Arts professor Sarah Robert, who's going to lead the groups of participants in 2 performances called Clump and Whistle.
I would like to say that tomorrow there is going to be Anish Opera at the First Baptist Church of Glendale. It's going to be at 7 o'clock. For tickets, you could call and then approach them, and then it's a wonderful, wonderful program. And Mikhail Avedisian is the conductor or the director. So I really would encourage community to go to that special event, especially with the special acoustics of that church. It's going to be phenomenal. Thank you.
By the way, Mikhail Avedisian is the recipient of the first Diamond Awards for the Achievement in Arts.
Yes.
As an individual artist. He's a incredibly good conductor.
And a very humble person.
Other official comments? Commissioner Lee?
I have 2. First one is I want to give a heartfelt thank you to all the firefighters who helped save the Chevy Chase Canyon and the Glen Oaks Canyon. I happen to be a resident in there, and I really appreciate their hard and fast work to keep us in the clear. Secondly, another committee that I sit on for the United States Navy, they have a sea perch program, which is part of their STEM program, science, technology, engineering, and math. They have a competition that's already going throughout school districts in Southern California. Their award ceremony is Saturday, June 8th from 8 o'clock to 2 p.m. On the USS Iowa in San Pedro. So if anybody's interested, non-competing patrons can join the event for free and only pay half price to go on to the USS Iowa. The competing teams will get lunch provided also and free admission. Anybody who needs more information, you can email to seaperchla@gmail.com. That's SEAPERCHLA@gmail.com. Thank you.
Commissioner Cavani?
It's more of a. I'm going to ask that actually. I'll ask later. I wanted to mention that one of my dearest childhood friends actually passed away on Friday, and I was going to ask if we could adjourn in his memory. Actually, I'll give you a little bit of information about him. He was an avid. He was one of the most active members in the AYF, the ANC. He actually was taken to Washington. The ANC has an annual program where they take in an intern, and he did that program. He was a UCLA grad, and actually he repatriated to Armenia. A lot of Armenians that live abroad speak about how they should improve Armenia. Well, he actually got up and left and repatriated to Armenia, and he was actually the director of communication studies at the American University in Armenia. And he and his wife actually were going to Jabakh, which is right in between Armenia and Georgia. It's right along the border, and actually there's some of those back roads are so tiny. There's just enough space for one car, and they actually got into an accident, and he passed away. Very close friend of mine. I mean, we used to. I have memories with him that you can't relive them anyway. But I mean, wonderful guy. I saw him go through such a huge change as a person. As a child, of course, we all grow up, but I mean, the absolute change that he made in his life was incredible, and something I hope to live up to as well. So I ask my colleagues if we can adjourn today's meeting in the memory of Alan Yekikian and his wife, Sosa.
Actually, they both passed away.
Yes, they both passed away, right.
Commissioner Gregorian.
Well, I absolutely agree with my colleague. I recommend that we do that. But and that's a very somber news. But on the a little more exciting news, not a news, but as a report, the Glendale Diamond Awards for Achievement in Arts was held in April. We are all aware of it. This is for the community, and it was a very successful event. We appreciated and awarded some artists in the community for all their hard work that they do. We did receive, indeed, a couple of actually personal notes from Carolyn Howard Johnson, who was the recipient of a community partner, and also Serpuhi Abadjan, who was the artist who won it, and also the Glendale Art Association. Many members approached me after the meeting and since then to thank for their great achievement, and also Express Art Center also did that. So basically what I'm trying to say is this was a very good event, very well organized by the staff again. Congratulations and thank you. And I really am, and it created a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement in the community. And many people, and I have to mention, I am very thankful to Councilman Laura Friedman, who showed up in the event, and also City Manager Scott Ochoa, who was there. So the event was an important event. We did actually what they say, we put our money where our mouth is, which is we did something very good for the art community and the artists in this city. And I'm really hoping that we will do this every year and expand it and advertise it a lot more and get a lot more recognition of all these very good artists that we have in this town. So again, I thank staff and all the participants who did, and the ones who were not picked by the jury this year. I don't want them to get discouraged. I think they should apply again, and hopefully we will have more participants in next year's projects and next year's event. And one by one, we will hopefully award every good artist in the community.
City Manager Scott Ochoa, who was there the whole time. He stayed there, he enjoyed, and he shook hands with everyone, and community was absolutely amazed and overjoyed to see how our city representative, our city manager, was there to encourage our community for the activities that they do. Thank you very much, Mr. Ochoa.
Thank you, and I want to echo that as well. It was a great event, and thank our public officials for being there. It does mean a lot. I also just want to quickly mention, since we were on the topics of murals today, that there is the Los Angeles Mural Conservancy that works in Los Angeles, and they give mural tours of the Arts District and other mural tours in and around the Los Angeles area, and the Associates of Brand Library and Art Center, who does a number of different tour events for their members and outsiders, non-members, is actually having a joint tour in the end of June. I'll have more information next month, but they're taking RSVPs early, so through the brandassociates.org, you can find out more information about that within the next couple of weeks, and it's a great opportunity for that. So with that, I would think...
Staff,
Sorry?
Written communications.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry. Yes. Next item.
Item 7, written communications.
None. Okay.
All right, then. So with that, I want to thank Commissioner Kivanian for sharing the story of your friend, and to adjourn this meeting in the honor of your friend. And I am terrible with names. I would appreciate it if you would.
Alan and Sose. Ikikian.
Thank you. I wanted to be respectful on that. And so adjourn in his memory.